Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Radio Free Wall Street. 5 o'clock New York time. We're a little bit late. But I've been really busy because it was a great trading day on Friday. You know, we set trades for longer periods of time. They've all come in fruition. And, oh, my God, gold, lowest price in a year, and silver, oil fell, stock market. It's all coming apart with Donald Trump trade tariffs. Trade war. Now, a lot of you may not understand that, but it's a big shit and mess, and it's really stupid. But I'm not going to talk about Donald Trump and his trade war. I want to talk about an American disgrace, and I'm serious. You know, a lot of my contemporaries make sure that they tell you what you want to hear. I told you about that. It's that circle marketing where Louis comes along and says, yeah, got to trade with Billy Bob Trade, and then a guy comes, hey, I'm Dewey, I trade Billy Bob Trade, and what you know, it's the same guy coming at you different directions. And by telling you it's fake news and this and that and polarizing, you don't get a broad view. On our terminals, you know, we stream a lot of news channels that are contradicting each other because it's very important, we feel, that you have a balanced view. And the people here are intelligent people. Okay? We're not a mass product market, you know. And, as you know, a lot of you have been with us a decade more, 20 years, going back to the printers and, you know, the olden days. And I truly appreciate every one of you. Okay, I love my life. I love my job. I love the person I've become, if that makes any sense to you. You know, from the wild ass, you know, 30-something that had way too much money and, you know, crazy shit, and, you know, to a worldview and a cosmopolitan and living around the world. So it's been a great journey, and I love every bit of it, and the journey continues. I have to tell you something about myself. When I was a kid, I had a problem. I couldn't sleep. And I had read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica. I had a ferocious reader. And I ran across a book called The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. And by the way, I couldn't sleep at night. Never could. I only sleep a couple hours. So I used to get punished. So that's when I had my flashlight. When the house got quiet, I turned under the covers. I turned on the flashlight, and because, you know, I was supposed to be sleeping, and if I got out of bed, I got punished and all that shit. So I just couldn't sleep. And I always resented sleep, and I don't sleep much now either. It's always been a lifelong pattern. So I read The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich with tears in my eyes, and I forced myself to go through it. And it was a very important part of my learning curve about man's and humanity demand, okay? And what I learned from that was the systematic way that the Jews were vilified by Hitler and how he used that vilification of them to gain his power. I learned about the nationalism and the pride and the greatness, and I have to be very honest with you and tell you that the first leader that comes very close to that in my time was Donald Trump, okay? This nationalism and this polarization. I was talking to one of the people on my client list, and we talked about it. He goes, you know, you can't go in a cafe and talk politics without people going insane here. And I'm not an enemy of Hillary haters or Hillary lovers. I'm not an enemy of people who love Trump, okay? I thought this was supposed to be a democracy where we had difference of opinion, and I, for one, respect the difference of opinion, and believe it's a person's right to have an opinion that's different than mine. They're not my enemy. And this vilification, this polarization is another trait of Donald Trump. You saw what he did in the trade things. But I want to talk about the great disgrace. And that is the border. Now, let me be clear here. I don't agree with the immigration policy, okay? I think letting in people as guest workers by a couple, 3 million, which is a very small number when you consider the population of America, less than 1% of the labor force, is something we need to do. I believe America as a beacon of light in immigration for people, for leaving the Arab Islam terrorists, by the way, and the people who come from Africa, and the people from Latin America, and the people from the Balkans, and people from all over the world coming to America as a great melting pot. We're all sons and daughters of immigrants, and that kind of sounds trite, but it's really true. And our ancestors did not come here because life was good, okay? Very few of them arrived with a little more of the clothes on their backs, and they were refugees, and they wanted a better life, and they found it, okay? And they made America great. So now we're throwing that all away, okay, and that's fine. And the contribution of the Spanish people from Mexico and Central America has been legendary. The Cubans in South Florida. I was there. South Florida was a place that My grandfather had property there, and so we spent a lot of time there as a kid. And I watched it flower. Okay, I remember when the Cordon Bleu was decayed and the fountain had green murky water in it, and Miami Beach was just dying. Okay, and they vitalized it. And I respect that. Okay, I respect the contributions that these people make. And I respect that immigrants do bring their problems with them. You know, the Italians brought their problems with them. The Irish brought their problems with them. The Russian immigrants brought their problems with them. But that all has a way of working itself out, okay? Now, I understand that we have to protect our borders. Truly, I really understand that, and I don't have a problem with that. And I truly understand that there has to be controlled immigration, okay? And I agree that the situation's gotten out of hand. But Donald Trump has demonstrated many times, letting it slip, that he really, really hates Mexicans and Latin American people. He regards them as scum, dirt, pieces of shit. You know, I regard absolutely positively he's a racist. And, you know, he's the president. And I don't think he's going to make through his first term, never mind get a second term. But if it's 8 years, I can outlast the son bitch for 8 years. Okay, and he's gone, and we'll go on. Okay, so the beauty about our system is that we don't have kings, and we limit the terms to 4 years. I think 4 years, 8 years is two 4-year terms is too much. I think we go to 4 years. But anyway, so I can hold my breath long enough. But there is a national disgrace, and you should be ashamed of yourself, and I'm ashamed of myself and your country, that we are now ripping babies out of their mother's arms, babies, and young little children and toddlers, because they are criminals because they came to our border. Now, I regard anyone that comes to America wanting an immigrant and presenting themselves at the border not as an enemy. I think criminalizing them is a severe mistake. I can tell you for a fact that among my family, people immigrated came on false papers. They didn't have, you know, entry visas and all that, and, you know, a lot of people were very clever in how they got in. And you do what you got to do. And I know you know some stories too. But to have this, okay, now, okay, we're enforcing the immigration laws. This is not my issue. Okay, fine. You got the asylum seeker issue. I believe most of those people have a right to asylum, by the way, coming from the ravages of the drug wars and dictators of Central America, and even the drug wars that are going on in the gangs of Mexico. I believe that the U.S. position on that is absurd, and that they are truly refugees and really truly deserve refugee status. I believe they should be vetted. I should believe they should be controlled. I believe there should be work permits, and I think we're making a mistake. But okay, be as may. Where I have a problem is watching, and by the way, if you work for ICE and you're a border control guy and you're ripping children out of the mother's arms because it's your job, you are a living piece of shit. You should be prosecuted. May you get slow stomach cancer and suffer a long, painful death because you are a living piece of shit, clearly. If I was there and I had that job, I'd say, take this job and stick it. Take my goddamn gun. Goodbye, you son of a bitch. I'm not doing it. Okay, and it goes to show you how Hitler and other oppressive people get people. It's my job. That's no excuse, okay? And I repeat, any border agent that is separating children. Now, I'm not talking about the father either. You're separating children from their mothers, okay, ripping them out of their arms screaming. You are a piece of living shit. Hell should not burn so long or be so hot. Now, this is a disgrace. This is wrong. Now, I understand that the mother came here as an illegal alien, okay? I understand that the kid's 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. I don't feel as troubled by it. But when I look at, 10-year-old kids and younger being separated from their parents, this is what the Nazis did. Hang your head in shame. And it started out this way. Hitler vilified the Jews. They started, Jewish businesses being attacked. Then they started, removing parents and mothers and fathers. And then finally they had the real fun that we've got two calls and machine gun them at the local rock quarry. So they took them into extermination camps. It is a slippery slope, okay? And the good people of America have a moral obligation to stand up. And I don't see it, and it's a disgrace saying, hey, okay, enforce the border laws, fine. This idea that we're taking a hard stance is wrong. This idea that we're separating children from their parents is a disgrace, a humiliation, the lowest level America has hit. And this is the shit Hitlers are made out of, and Mussolini's, and all of the great dictators that have risen up to oppress mankind and create great genocide. I watched Donald Trump kiss the ass of a murderer. There's 1 million people in concentration camps in this country. I watched them salute the very military who are oppressing those people, and it made me disgusted to my stomach. I watched them insult Trudeau and the other Macron and the other leaders that have been our long-standing allies, and that upset me. But that's okay. I understand we got a piece of shit, and I can survive the reign of Donald Trump, and I can survive the people around me that don't understand what a piece of shit he is, and I'm going to make a lot of money, okay? And it's already started. It's been a great year. Stock market collapsed 2,000 point drops in one day, and it is also absolutely, positively what makes a piece of shit a piece of shit. Silver market, gold market is collapsing. Dollar is soaring in value. Fed is raising rates during some recession. People go, oh, I think it'll be great again because Donald Trump gave tax breaks. Boy, there are going to be no jobs. These guys are. I know these guys. I know what they're doing. I'm telling you, corporate America has no intention of making any great investments. Okay, that's bullshit. They took that money and ran. Now, they want to blow Laffer curve up people's ass? That's fine. Oh, the Fed's not going to really raise rates. This time, the flattening yield curve doesn't mean a recession. See, because this time, the three-wave of the 10-year versus the 2-year to 5-year demonstrates to us that it's really not a flat yield curve. You know, that's bullshit. It's a flat yield curve. Never, ever does it do that. Doesn't go into a depression and a recession. You're going to do it this time. You can't have a trade war that comes out well. And Donald Trump will mishandle everything. And I'm going to make a lot of money. And you guys are with me. You can make a lot of money. Thank God for Donald Trump. But I will not stand up and I will not be silenced, and I will stand up and loud and long and yell, this is criminal what we're doing on our border. Okay, I don't give a shit what the convoluted immigration laws are, and I agree that the border has to be protected. I wouldn't do it that way. I would not be as strict. I would have a quota system. I would let people in. I would not build a wall. I would vet these people, and I would make sure the Embassy of the United States, you know, whether it be in Managua, Nicaragua, or San Salvador, goes ahead, or Guatemala City, Guatemala, and gets these people an entry permit and works out a more intelligent system to coming to the border and declaring themselves. And I would take in 1 million people a year, and I would throw out 500,000 a year, and I would solve the problem in a humane way, okay? So, okay, we got a reactionary right-wing bigot, hypocrite, Nazi in heart that is now relishing and enjoying this. And unless Americans stand up, shame on all of us. Now, the MS-13 gang members, I'm really clear. Take them out back and shoot their asses. You don't even have a trial. Here's a gang member. Let's see the tats. Fine. Here's a bullet in the head. Goodbye. So that's different than the innocence. That's incident than ethnic cleansing. That is different than vilifying these people. Now, to vilify all of the hardworking Latinos that come to America because of one gang whose numbers measure in the thousands, and vilifying people in the millions, and you know the false narrative is that the Spanish Americans, even if they're here illegal, have a fraction of the arrest rate of American citizens. Okay, this idea they're coming here to commit crime, rape, and pillage and plunder is Nazi-era propaganda to enrage the masses. Okay, and there have been some real tragedies. Okay, I understand that, but what I'm talking about here is, and I want to stand up loud and long and make my position clear, is it is wrong, no matter how these people come here, to separate the children from their mothers unless the mother's a danger to the child. And if she wants to come to clean your toilet, and she came to the border, and they're pretty ignorant people, and they don't know about immigration, and they don't know about the rules, and they're listening to rumors, listening to people, people actually going to the villages of these small towns, you know, selling them passage permits and rights, and the family scrimps together to get the money. It's a business that you have to understand. Which was the same thing among the steamship companies that went to the Europeans and went to the villages and canvassed people so they get the fare. Yeah, really? Yeah, you know that? Let me tell you a story. During the time of the mass immigration from Europe, it was common for the boats to find a family that was well-known and get a member to get a free passage. Like they'd have like a lottery. Oh, you won the lottery. You come to America for free on our boat. So you'd come there, and they would get them to write letters and send pictures about how great life was. And then the steamship companies actually went into the towns, and they would sell them a portfolio, show them how nice the boat was, explain to them how help settle in America, and we'll take payment plans. And it was a massive way of getting passengers on boats. Okay, so you've kind of got that same thing now with the coyotes soliciting these people in these villages and these little places that don't understand what's going on because they want a better life. And everyone who's had somebody in their family that's been murdered by a gang, everyone has had someone that's been, tortured. Everyone's had someone that's been kidnapped. They've all been robbed and raped. And it is a real serious mess there. So does a person have a right to try to go for a better life? Hell yeah. If I was in Latin America right now, it'd take machine guns to keep my ass out of America. One way or another, I'm getting in there. Okay, and one way or another, I'm getting the hell out of there. So I can understand that. And I think you should too. But this disgrace of internment camps for children, right out of Nazi Germany playbook, is an evil direction and a curse upon all of us. And there is a God in heaven, and I'm not sure sometimes what the hell he's doing, but he's there, and he's watching, and I can tell you he is not happy. Whether his name is Buddha or Muhammad or Allah or whatever the hell it is, I don't give a damn. But he's there. And America, I believe America's been abundantly blessed because of our charity. Americans, listen, you know, we have a lot to be proud of. Americans give the greatest amount of charity of any country in the world, okay? America's the only army that's gone into places and, except for mistakes, has not oppressed the masses, rape and pillage and plunder. America controls its troops. America goes into countries, liberates them, sets them free, and really walks out, to our great credit. And we have been a beacon of light for the masses, and I believe that's the reason why America is the most blessed country in the world. But you're removing the blessing. You're turning us into a Nazi Germany. You're turning us, with Donald Trump, into a place full of hatred and vile, and you know, listening to the spew of the FBI is the enemy of the president, all this stuff. This is crazy shit. This does not end up in anything nice, okay? And we'll last all that. Like I said, we will outlive Attorney General Sessions that's calling for strict enforcement. That's wrong. But we are losing our soul. And we are doing evil things that is not right to the innocents, okay? And I'm not asking for any change in immigration policy. As screwed up it is, you want to continue with that, that's fine. Continue this border thing and continue with that. Everyone's been now being arrested that comes to the border and presents themselves. Fine. Do it. Do it to your own demise, but not the children. Take them in, leave them with their mothers. I mean, I'm sure you can have psychologists, social workers there that can see if the kid's bound to these people. I mean, I know how to do that. Many people who are intelligent and dealt with large groups of people know how to spot that. It can be done. Okay? Can we afford it? Yeah, we can afford 2,000 families. Yeah, but, it's so much. This idea that the investigation of Donald Trump's expensive, when he revs up his little Air Force One to go golfing, they spent more money. Okay, we can afford it. We can afford the charity. And I'll tell you what, I bet you that if we made an appeal to Americans to help these refugee children and refugee mothers, because America could afford it, I'll bet you that there'd be baby bottles and formula and napkins and diapers and donations of medical supplies, more than you can ever imagine. And that's the nature of the American people. This is a curse of our leaders. And this is a curse on you for not standing up and be spoken and say, whatever the immigration problem is, and I understand it's a problem, and I understand it's a complex issue, and I understand it's divisive, okay, but not the children. Not the sin of separating parents. Not the sin of creating evil. You can't do evil in the name of doing good, okay? We've learned that always. And when you say it's just my job, it's not your job. If your boss in the Army or in the police force or in ICE or any of these organizations tells you to do something that's immoral, you have an obligation to tell them, kiss my ass, and not do it. And I'll tell you another story. During the Nuremberg trials, a lot of the guards took the defense that it was my job, and if I refused it, I would have been shot. So there was quite a bit of research done, and it was found out that Germany, by the way, Germany was very careful. They put the isolation camps, the extermination camps in Poland. They didn't want them on German soil. They used English rail cars, by the way. They didn't want to have anything German about it, okay? And what happened was, this was a volunteer program, and it turns out that if someone did not want to participate in it, they didn't go to the Russian front. They weren't executed or punished. They very quietly just moved them out, okay? So this idea that it was my orders and my job, I had no choice, was proven to be a woefully inadequate defense. And it turned out, because, see, by the way, the Germans, the people that worked in those camps had a much higher ration, a much nicer housing off-premise. Their families were with them. I mean, they really treated them well for the dastardly deal they did. They were paid well. They were compensated well. They were allowed to steal. They were allowed, they looked the other way. And the point I'm trying to make here is that the defense that it was my job and I had to obey orders and I would have been shot and all that proved that was not true in that atrocity. Any ICE agent that's on the border that is watching or seeing or participating in the separation of children from their mothers is a living piece of shit and should be ashamed of himself. He He has no right to be an officer of the law of the United States of America. Absolutely, positively. You know, I got cops running down the highway saving babies from traffic, okay? We got policemen that are going into school shootings, and, you know, you got a lot of heroics with cops that are being vilified, which is absolutely wrong. Okay, just as I'm doing this right now, another 2 cops were shot in Kansas City, and it goes to show you the vilification, okay? Law enforcement does not do us any good when it practices the will of a Donald Trump and a Sessions doing this great evil. On my Nick's Twits, I published a picture of a child. It looks like about a 2-year-old little girl whose shoelace has been taken off because she's going to custody. And you'll notice there are 3 guards surrounding them, and there's one ICE guy that has his hand on his gun in case that 2-year-old terror charges him. Hang your head in shame, you piece of shit. Hang your head in shame. And unless Americans stand up, this is going to continue to get uglier. And this is the evil of a man like Donald Trump, and I cannot be silent. I don't think Trump is good for America. I don't think he's good for himself. I don't think he's going to finish his first term as president. I think it's going to end very badly with deep state bullshit. I don't care what the hell it is. I'm a trader, and I know a losing proposition when I see one, and I know a money-making opportunity. So, again, I cannot be silent about this. Now, I'm not even going to get involved in what the immigration policy, it is fine. As enlightened and stupid as it is with the wall, that's fine. But don't turn Americans into animals. Do not do evil. Okay? Just because, and on Fox News they're running through, well, they're illegal aliens, aren't they? Well, okay, they may be. But that 2-year-old little girl isn't. And her mother's probably a very simple, basic person, doesn't know what she's doing. And these people are just doing what I think, I have to say this. I think any human being that is subject to oppression, subject to gangs where you have to murder people and do evil things, has a right to flee that situation. And I believe that these are truly refugees and really, truly deserve a right to come in America. Even if the United States government takes the position that if it's gangs and it's not government oppression, then it's not liable for sanctuary. Let me put it this way. These gangs that operate in Central America and in Mexico, they are operating in the government. It's the government. Government's paid off. They're in collusion with the government. Politicians are in on it. Don't kid yourself. These guys do not operate outside of local law enforcement that aids and abets them constantly. So don't kid yourself. So these people truly are refugees. They truly are oppressed. They are truly legitimately assigned asylum seekers, and our laws should truly allow them in after vetting. But okay, you know, America, we can afford 1 million people a year coming in, and we can pretty much give them settlement areas, and we can pretty much match their skills to jobs, and we can vet them, and we can put social workers on them. And this idea, well, they're going to take welfare from us, that's all the hate speech. It's not true. It has been proven that if they manage to get on welfare or they get out of food stamps, they're on there for a brief period of time, and they end up paying far more in taxes than they ever took from America. But that's a fact, okay? And again, I repeat to you, this idea that they're all criminals, gangbangers, rapists, drug runners is just hate speech. The fact of the matter is their criminal activity is less than most any other group in America. We've had criminal problems with every immigrant organization we took into America, and that's the nature of human beings. And humans do evil, okay? And you vet it out, and you stand up for what's right, and eventually the devil leaves the door, okay? So this is, to me, a heartbreak. It is, I've lived around the world. I've been to some pretty nasty places, and I can tell you this vilification is how it starts, okay? And then the oppression starts, and then it just grows and grows and grows, and the next thing you know, you're going down the road to the evil people doing the most evil, vile things. And I can't say I never thought I'd see it happen in America, because I did. But I never thought I'd see it happen so quickly. So those of you, and that's most of you that have a heart, and those of you that, understand this, I know you're very vexed and troubled about Americans and the class warfare. And this is a political ploy. Okay? This is all a political ploy. All these trade wars. It's because you're trying to make the news. You're the news. And you're trying to bring a voter in there for an election that'll get you impeached. This is a very desperate man. I'm going to close on this. This is a very desperate man who, whether you believe it or not, he believes he's got a big problem. And whether you believe it or not, he knows he's got to win this election to survive. And this is a man I believe will do anything to win that election. And I believe things are going to get far better, far worse before they get to better. And who knows what great evil he has planned. But as his attorney goes down and people get arrested and more people agree to testify, the President of the United States becomes a desperate man and is going to use his office of power to buy favors, to use the bully pulpit to confuse people, and bring the no-minds out to the voting booths to vote for him. And by God, I stopped that immigration. I stopped them people from stealing your jobs and raping. They're killing our people. They're bringing drugs in our school. That's not so, okay? The drugs are in the school because Americans are buying drugs. The drugs are in the school because drug dealers who are Americans are getting supplied by these people. Wake up and smell the coffee. Don't be fooled. It's a very evil time. And the only thing necessary for evil to prosper is for the good people to do nothing. And we're not saying something, not standing up and speaking, not writing a letter to your congressman, not doing the publicity, you are participating in that great evil. I said, I don't care what your position on immigration is. This is not an immigration issue. It's simply crossing the line of taking young children away from their parents. I can even say, I'll even agree with you that, or do you really want the mother and father in a detention camp together to make it a Hotel California? No. So separate the father, okay? But don't separate the children from their mothers. This is a grave sin. And I want to say something else here. All those kids have been screaming and traumatized, okay? And if you know Latino communities know that these people love their children, love their families, and they treat them very well, as poor as they are. And the kids are very close to their parents, and they're very social people. I know them well. You know what you've created? You've created an enemy. And when that little boy comes up and grabs a gang and machetes a policeman at night, you got as good as you gave.